Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. Let's forgive, I just opened this kombucha, and it's pretty nasty. Never had this before. It's a grape flavored kombucha. It tastes like vodka kombucha. Nasty. Hope everyone's doing good. I know this wasn't a scheduled live stream. We just went live. We got a little bit of time. I've got about 20, last count, I think I had 26 of these submissions to do. So we're going to bang out 5 or 6 of them tonight. And hopefully whoever's on this, if they can join us and get involved. If not, no worries. But if you're on this and you don't see your swing, good education, cause and effect video. It's all we're going to talk about today. And if you want to submit your swing, the link is in this description below. I made sure I put it down there. It's just a jot form. Go ahead, send me your face on down the line like this gentleman here, and I will help you as best as I can. And in your submissions, there will also be space for you to put information about your golf swing. Mad Dog 2020. Are you talking about my vision? Mad Dog 2020? I don't have 2020 vision. That's why I gotta wear these glasses, because they are pretty blind without them. All right, first person up is Alexandre. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Okay, from France. Play 16 handicap to 25 on a 136 slope golf course. I suffer from major slices with a 6. 5 and driver, don't have any other woods. 7 irons goes 170, drivers 230 to 285, if non-sliced, obviously. No body limitations, no injuries. 15-year tennis is playing. I tried everything explained by my teachers with slices issues by nothing, but nothing works. And position play draw. Thanks a lot. Okay, you're welcome. Let's take a look here. The drink, Mad Dog 20. Oh yeah, I never had. What is Mad Dog 2020? Is that a beer? But this kombucha tastes, quite honestly, like I'm drinking. It's called High Country Kombucha. Got it at the 99-cent store, $4.99. So what do I expect, and signed up. Hey, what's up, Doc? Doc, you see your spot? It's right there. I found a place for it. We're going to get a light just for it. So you're eternally there. Oh, that's nasty. Okay. So let's take a look at the... Oh, God. Don't buy 99-cent kombucha, everybody. It's a moral of the story. Okay, let's take a look at this swing here. Okay, so I do see some ball position issues on the right side. Some swaying back to try and help that ball position. Not a lot of rotation with the lower body. Some being stuck, but you know what? At least it's not a long swing, which is good. This swing you can make it work for sure. Not a lot of rotation. Yeah, you see it back there, Doc? Hiding right there. Right above the Riviera plaque. Doc's box. I'm going to get a big bright light. You tell me what color you want. So let's draw some plane lines here in the lower plane line. Where is it? Okay. Computer's not glitching yet, but you know what? It's early. Early days in glitch land. Let's look at that 4 press on the right side. This could also be a camera issue, just because it looks like the camera was taken outside at a different angle, probably at about 5 o'clock instead of directly on 6, but you can still see a pretty pronounced 4 press. 4 press is okay, again, with an iron, but you don't want to accentuate too much 4 press, because now you're going to have some issues. We do see that gapping right here. Typically with a, relatively neutral 4 press, you want to see a little bit of gapping there. That way your whole body can sequence correctly. You don't have to manufacture some stuff. The grip, let's take a look at that grip real quick. Looks fairly neutral, maybe slightly strong with the left hand. But let's take a look on the left side if we do some posture and walk ourselves through it. Yeah, so there's not, I do see, some alignment issues. You can see if you zoom in here, right there. Now, I'm not sure if this is a camera issue too, but look at that right arm. It's really covering that left arm, specifically the forearms. So I would imagine that this is a shoulder open type of issue. But you can see where the target is. So the target's here, feet are slightly left, but that shoulder's a little bit more left. And that could play havoc with the way you take the club back, specifically if you're not planning on playing a fade. And we see as we take that club back, we don't necessarily turn with our lower body, and we're kind of trapped. So, we see on the right side of the screen, there's more of a slide as opposed to a turn. Now, when you just go ahead and slide and restrict that lower body, yeah, you might get some torque, but you're kind of running into some room here, and you're not able to get that full range of motion by turning. When we get to the top, we kind of look trapped. But look at that. He gets the secondary plane that pretty good. But we see the weighting. Look at the weighting falling forward. That left foot, the toes sticking into the ground. So we probably will see some spinning. So see that left heel kind of spinning. So obviously, I think this is a lot of lower body restriction that limits the depth of his swing. So right side of the screen, we see we don't get that far back, although we do get a pretty good shoulder turn. But man, we got some issues here because our upper body is kind of trying to align to our forward press. So you see that tilting. He's trying to catch the forward press, but there's no way to hit that. You're going to be digging straight down this way into China, and that's not a good deal for your hands or the club. So we do see, as we get to the downswing, we see him trying to drive the hips, but look how far back that ball position is. So ball position is clear outside of his right shoulder. I mean, there's not much you can do here. Get the hands to fire, but man, that is just going straight in the ground. And we're trying to restrict that release by holding on. And I think part of this is just by hitting that ground, it flares the club face open. You might catch a toe and it spins the club open. I'd say overall, if this is somebody that is suffering from slices, you can kind of see why. There's not a lot of room to make this work. I wish he would have included the driver swing. Yeah, it's very steep. So from here, I mean, the thing about trying to get torque in your body is if you're starting and you're restricting your hips and you go ahead and turn around those restricted hips, you can imagine at the top of the swing, there's just so much torque built up over here. Probably not much in the hips, but when you unwind first, you're not going to unwind with the hips. You're going to want to unwind where the torque is stalled. So there's going to be more upper body rotation. Now, when you are not deep enough on the left side of the screen, we take a look at where that club is. It's not deep enough. It hasn't found the centerness of his heels at the bare minimum. So now we've got a pretty big issue because there's no way to get that club to drop down while you've got so much torque over here. Your upper body's going to want to release that torque. So the upper body's going to go first anyway. And we see right there. I mean, this is just very steep, very hard to accommodate anything. So I would just say to this person, obviously, how much time do you have to practice? If you're a range rat and you like practicing, good. Then you can start to work on some things. And B, what is your goal? And you can see that ball. I don't know if you guys can see that there. Let's watch this ball flight. So right there, see the ball's over here? And it tails off to here. And it's already here. So we are seeing a pretty big, almost a slice with that iron. So yeah, I can definitely see why. Number one, get your hands deeper if this is something you really want to get used to. But before you start doing that, you got to give yourself more spacing. So let's take a look at where your centeredness is. So there's your arches of your heels. So you're clearly a little bit too close to the golf ball, which might cause some alignment issues. So back your feet up so they're supporting at least back here. Let's do this in a different color just in case he watches this again. So back your feet up, arches of the heels. So now all of a sudden you've got a little bit more spacing. So now when you turn, your arms can just, take advantage of that turning and don't have to feel like they're pulling inside. So turn with the hips, get the hips involved. So if you want to make sure you know how to do this correctly in the front view, want to put that right brace line. And then here, instead of, getting this bowing look, you want the hips to maybe stay against that and just turn. And that'll help you get a little bit deeper, a little bit longer in terms of your hand position. You won't get crammed, and then you won't have to, release from the top because there's so much tension stored up on that upper body. So there's a couple of things that can certainly help you out with the right side of the screen in terms of your setup. You definitely want to try to eliminate this unnatural forward press. I know you see everybody trying to get forward press out there, but just, tighten that gap up. You want to keep things where the circles are at least favoring each other a little bit. Obviously, with an iron, you want to swing down in it eventually, but you can take a look at the club shaft is pointing straight down to the ground, but your spine angle is pointing up, so you have a pretty big gap to make up. Now, eventually, that club will get forward press naturally if you're able to sequence correctly. But with this setup, it's giving you a hard time to sequence correctly. So it's all about sequencing. It's all about making your body work best for you. And with somebody like this that doesn't seem like they have a lot of issues, former tennis player, 15 years, so we know we got some pretty good hand-eye coordination, but you can just see it's getting crammed and there's not a lot of room to make things work in this area. So Alexandre, I don't know if I said that. That's horrible French. Alexandre Vinel. Hope that helps you. All right, let's take a look. Let's delete these. How's that background music working for you? Is it too loud? Let's see who's next up here. We got Chris. Let's pop this here. There's one. There's two. And here. Okay, here comes Chris. 1 and 2. Let's hit play. Let's zoom in. And if you're on here, great. If not, you can catch the live stream later. Let's read what Chris has here. Playing for 16 years, I've taken both in-person and online lessons multiple times. No serious injuries. My left shoulder does get sore, but it does not seem to limit mobility. At least I think. Irons always a slight draw. Driver I set up open and swing right. Set up open and swing right. I usually hit a slight fade. Seems to work well most times, and I could outdrive everybody. If I try to hit it straight with a driver, I occasionally hit a nice draw, but every now and then, basically, a duck hook creeps in, so you just stay with a fade. All right, man, stay with what works naturally. Play okay, upper 70s to high 80s, so the dispersion is not too bad. Whenever I feel my swing, I do not understand how I hit it well sometimes. I seem to struggle with getting the wrist set and arm position, which I think is related to the early extension. Okay, let's take a look at the early extension here. If you guys have any questions too, as we go along, just type them out. Man, that door open is kind of scaring me. It looks like he's going to hit it. We don't even get the full swing. Look, maybe he did hit it. We get to about there. That looks like it's going to, boom, just hit that open door. Maybe it did, I don't know. But unfortunately, we only caught to that impact position. But we can definitely see the hands really trying to, scoop away and stand up. A lot of this has to do with that tilting. So as you come on down to the impact, we can see we got, an accentuated tilt. Upper body's falling back. We haven't leveled out our tilt to hit down on this. So tilting out, centers out to here. Our hands are behind that centeredness. And if we do truly stay down, so we can see how from here, watch the head height, to here, we come on up. We're trying to create spacing to throw our hands early. And the reason we're throwing our hands early is because they're not aligned with the shoulder tilting, so they have to throw early. So basically, you want to just try and reduce the shoulder tilt, so the centeredness of your shoulder tilt is where those hands are. Then you can stay more level, you can swing more down, and we don't look like this with the, this guy coming back to dinner. We don't want that guy coming to dinner. But what's causing that? That's basically what we're looking at. So let's look at the ball position first. So we do have a forward ball position relative to our center, which might be number one we got to look at. So we see that ball position is out in front of our center, and an excess shoulder tilt for that setup. This is, I don't know what club this is. If it's a longer club, it's okay. But you want to try and close that gap down as best as you can, because you want at most, let's say we level these shoulders out to, here. It doesn't seem like much, but when you get that centeredness, it really tightens that gap down at the golf ball. So you don't have to have a lot of manipulation. Then you can stay more, more centered and just stay around each other, as opposed to having to tilt and move around to get those two angles to get closer to each other. So you want to look at your starting point. But let's take a look at this side. Lower plane, upper plane line, back brace line, and spine angle. Let's look at the centeredness. Tiny bit close, but it could be camera angle, but let's take a look and see. Yeah, so the shoulders don't quite get their tilt relationship right away. So we do see the hands will come up as the shoulders come up. So left shoulder's getting a little bit high initially, brings those hands up high, and then we have to learn to lay it off to get down to that plane line. So this is why if you can time it well, you can make any golf swing work. So we set it right, then the shoulders kick in, so the shoulders recover. Tiny bit long, crossing the line. So this is just probably a result of, that initial loss of tilting, and then our hands get back, and then we get our tilting back again, and then we're all of a sudden crossing the line because we've made two compensations. Now they kind of contradict each other. Let's take a look as we come on down through. So the club's deep enough, plenty turn. We drop it in the slot, so pretty good with the triangle check. Starting to lose a little bit of posture, but again, this posture loss, it really has to do with making room for your hands to throw early because they're not connected to the tilt. So if you start seeing yourself looking like this, where you've really stood out of posture, a couple things that could happen is you start to swing outside, and you've got to have a last-ditch effort for that club head to veer closer to the plane line. So one way to do that is to kind of shaft hump, and by doing that, that club will fall closer to the plane line to give you some fighting chance of going inside to out. We don't see that here. We see more of standing up to get out the way, but that has to do with the face on. So here, get to the top of the swing. Look how far back that center of the ball is to him. Like, this is a driver swing, because at this point, he's got to get his upper body to move over so the center of his chest is ahead of the ball. But because he doesn't, he's swinging more rotational. He's probably staying where he is. Look at the center of his chest. It's still behind the ball. So what does he have to do now? He has to get those shoulders to tilt. And there goes the tilting to push everything out a little bit further to try and get some forward press. But by doing that, you have to stand up because, you got to throw earlier to create the room. And then we throw, and then we catch the ball. And this is all timing. So again, this is setup based. So there's no reason to change things in your golf swing unless you give it a correct setup to work with. Now we see that grip is fairly neutral to kind of strong. So it's not necessarily that. I think it's where the ball position is relative to your circle. So at home, remember, you got this big circle. That's not a circle. You got this big circle right here. So you look at two lines. Where your shoulders are tilting will give you the bottoming out of your circle with your shoulders. And what's connected to your shoulders are your hands. So you can't bottom out. If I'm here, my bottom can't be back here because my left arm is not, fantastic for left arm longer. It can't just stretch. They're going to connect right where my centerness is. So if I start with a centerness out here, I'm presetting my bottom of the circle to here. But now I've got a spine angle that's also has another circle that to work with. So at some point, you've got to try to match these up. And if you don't do it correctly, that's where compensations lie. So just really be careful of your setup. So I hope that helps you at least understand your swing, what you need to do with this. If you want to try and solve some of this, it's just setup. Just play with your setup, get that ball position relative to your center. Get your tilting to level out slightly so you don't have an exaggerated forward press. Get some more spacing for you to make that transition. But it really comes down to that setup. The swing is evolving on the setup. So I hope that helps you. See here, nice hole-in-one by Ollison at the 3M tournament in Minnesota today. At age 71, I'm still waiting for my first hole-in-one. Yes, it takes a while. My dad got his first hole-in-one. I think he was in his late 60s. Only guy. Even nobody saw it. Only him. So whether it happened, it's like a tree in the forest. Doesn't make noise. Good luck, Steve. The more you play, the more chances you got. So get out there. That's right. I always wanted to do a hole-in-one challenge. Just put like 1,000 balls and just see if I can do it. All right, let's say goodbye to Chris. Chris, sorry to say goodbye to you. Good luck to you. If you need help, just let me know. See ya. Next up, Brian. All right. Why won't it let me take it from there to there? And let me get some more of my 99-cent kombucha that tastes like rubbing alcohol. Oh God. That is nasty. All right. Man, this is some nice footage. Look at this. Now let's see what's going on with, who is this? Brian. Did I say Chris? No, Brian. Okay, Brian. 7 handicap. I'm having issues with the left miss. Feel like I'm overswinging or using my arms too much. I think I'm out of sequence in my downswing. I'm not rotating early enough or not able to get my belt buckle to the target at impact. Have some lower back issues, but I've been doing stretching and exercising to increase flexibility and rotation. All right, so okay, I can kind of see it already. Centeredness is a little bit trapped on his feet. Not a lot of space. So he has to dig down and create some space. Front view. All right. That's yep. You know what? It makes it work. Let's see the right side. You have to forgive these moments of silence. I never see these swings until right now, so. Yeah, a little bit loosey up here. So there's nothing holding him accountable. So his arms are not feeling the stretch. And he's trapped there. Yeah, that's tough. Look at the amount of tilting he gets. So whenever I see an excess of tilt, we start looking at why does he have to get his hands out in front. Yeah, it's quite a bit of tilt. So it's almost 30 degrees. All right, so let's start from the beginning. A lot of this really, in my opinion, has to do with where the weighting is on his feet. Okay, it's kind of an arch back, but there. So center of the heels, look how far forward the center of the heels are. Center of the feet, I mean. So, you know, that's basically the center view. And you got so much of your body on your left side. Now, I'm not saying that this can't work. I mean, clearly you can hit a golf ball, but how productive is it? And your misses, it comes down to. And the one thing I do see is, you know, we don't really have much spacing to get that turn, or else you'll feel unbalanced, because if you start turning, you're going to pull more weight back here. And with so much weight back there anyway, you're going to feel like you're falling over. So you've kind of developed a move where you don't necessarily turn as much with the lower body right away, but you have to pick up the club out to the lower plane line while you get some room for your hands to move. So right there, you know, you're in the middle of your planes. If you want to go through textbook, you know, textbook, this hand is down over here. Now, I know I'm not teaching textbook, but just so you can kind of see why things occur. So we know, you know, where you can start to change things if your body can allow for it, and then you can get closer to where you would like to be. So we get to the top of the plane. We've lost some shoulder tilt. Not bad though, but your arms try to get the secondary plane up, but they do that more without the body moving. So I see some disconnection here. I see some maybe rolling of the hands to allow that to occur, but you get it deep enough. But here's where the issue happens. We're trying to keep our weighting on our heels because we started there, and we have to keep them there to give your hands the spacing they need. So you do a good job of staying in your back brace line and staying in your spine angle. But the problem is you have to increase your tilt to get your hands to move forward so they don't get trapped. So this is the you know, this is very hard. I'm just trying to explain here to change things in your swing without addressing why it's there in the first place. And you can see you try and stay down as much as you can. Look at that right leg. It's just kind of giving out. You know, you can't really push it back, because if you do, your whole body will come out and out of the posture. You'll miss the ball. So you're kind of compressing into the ball and moving into it, you know, with the upper body, while the lower body is just trying to hold on for dear life so you don't fall. But the left side of the screen, we take a look. It's not too bad here. We see that forward press. It's not as bad as we've seen some tonight, but we do have a little bit of a forward press, and the center of the chest is just behind the golf ball. So this might be an issue, but you do a good job of staying at least relatively steady. You do see that extra motion there, right there, and it starts to tip you. You start to get a little bit tippy this way. We come on down through, we get the good leg drive, but we have to go back down. So how do we go back down? By increasing that tilt. So here's where that tilt comes in, to get your hands to move out in front of the golf ball, to at least get that forward press to carry over, and then you just release naturally. I think this is going to be a very, very hard swing to just say, hey, there's just way too many things relying upon itself to throw in a wrench and say change this, because your whole swing will change and destroy itself. This is, again, just like many of these, it's a slow introduction to your setup changes, and then just let your body evolve naturally. But if you wanted to look at some ways that I would recommend you to do is, again, obviously it depends on your body. Can your body physically get there? If it can't, then you've got another thing to worry about. But if this is me and you, we'd be going back to here. I'd be asking you to say, hey, look, give yourself some space. So there's your lower plane line. There's your upper plane line. There is your center of your arches of the heels. This is basically where you want the arches of the heels to be, because at least now you give your hips the support it needs here, and look at how much real estate you get. And from there, now you can just pivot and turn and just keep your tilting related the same, or at least closer to where it would like to be. You'll give yourself more space at impact, so you don't have to get this right shoulder to tilt all the way down. You'll utilize this setup a little bit easier, but even on this setup, you want to try and take a look at that golf ball. Push it, a ball or two back a little bit, and then just get the whole body to lean a little bit more on this left side, just with the irons, not with the driver. So you want to feel like maybe, I don't know, 60% is on that left side, but upper body heavy. And this will just promote natural sequencing, a more foundational setup, so you can just use your athletic ability. And it seems like you're very athletic because of the way you make your manipulations and changes to make this current setup work. But I hope that at least explains why things occur from my point of view. Not saying it's all right, but it's always nice to hear from other people's point of view. So let me know if that needed any explanation, Brian. Other than that, best of luck to you. Let's take a look. See you, Brian. Hate to part ways like this, but somehow it just needs to be. All right, Gerald. Let's put Gerald. Come on, Gerald. Come on down. You're the next contestant. 1 and 2. All right, looks like a nice tropical place. It's probably somewhere in like Wichita. Ooh, look, he's got an automatic ball retrieval. See that ball come back to him on the left side? He's like, bloop, bloop, bloop. Here you go. 71 years old, left shoulder giving me some limitation due to a bad wreck in my teens, plus some worn out disc in neck and lower back. Getting on my steroid injection, but love golf too much to quit. I hear you, man. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, I do see a lot of arms, and that's probably understandable with your situation. Definitely some limited body motions, stronger grip to help you get that club face to be squared. It's not, hey, you're making the right changes. Let's take a look. Let's slow this down a little bit. Left side first. Yeah, okay. Right side. I'll tell you what, Gerald, for all the stuff you've been through, you make this swing. You can make this work for sure. I would say, to help you with a little bit more concern. I'm not sure what your misses are. You didn't tell me any misses or anything like that, but I would imagine you might have some contact issues just because of the amount of motion you do actually do in terms of going up and down. So if you take a look at, we're going to draw a little circle over your head here. So if you take a look at how much the head moves, I'm not saying the head needs to stay steady, but it's indicative of what your spine is doing. So we almost stand straight up, and this will help you get more turn to stand out of your posture. And that's fine. Hands are really high, and you do a decent job of dropping them in a slot. You can see it. It's dropping inside. So at least you're not out and over. So this is why you can make this work, and you do return back down to the circle. So you're able to time this going up and down. But you can see even past impact, momentum is going to push you down as your shoulder tilts under. So you do get below again. So we take a look at the range of motion of your head, and that's just, again, showing you what the spine does. We go to the very top of your swing so we can see, the motion of the head. It goes up and back, and then down and forward, up and back, down and forward. Now, when you have quite significant motion here, that means your upper body is also going up and back and down and forward. Now, when the golf ball is only, this big, there's a lot of pressure on your hands to, time this and hit that golf ball, release it, square the club face up. So unfortunately, we can't really do much, obviously, with your body just because of what you've been going through health-wise. But I'd say, if you can try your best to at least limit some of that up and down, feel a little bit more steady. Now, you are going to sacrifice some turn by doing that. So you just have to, understand that, hey, look, you can't have, your cake and eat it too. You just have to say, okay, what do I really want? Do I want to just hit every golf ball as hard as I can and generate what I can from this move? Or can I make some changes? And if you take a look at the left side here, even, so we're going to put the circle there. That's a horrible starting circle. And then we go to the top. We can see up and out and down and left, or our view right, but his left. But again, this is not the head doing it. The head's not doing it on its own. He doesn't have a Gumby head. It's the body. The whole body's coming out of its posture and then going back down. Can we change some things? Yes, we can, to help him out. I would say maybe the setup. I know you're trying to get that forward press to manufacture itself because you feel like you don't have a lot of rotation and tilting, but you have plenty of tilting. You can see your tilting is part of your strength down at impact. I mean, look at how much tilt you're able to get. So there's no real reason to accentuate that tilt. And you can see your hands here really have to throw because that club head beats your hands where the centeredness is. So you still have a lot of hand manipulation. So you need to just try and limit that hand manipulation. One of the reasons to do this, or to help you, is to not forward press as much. Look at that ball position. That ball position is way out in front over here. Remember the irons, even the long irons, you want to think about, how do I get the center of my chest over that golf ball? Because that's where the low point will be. And then the tilting also changes the forward press. So if my low point is at my microphone here and my tilting's this way, the tilting's going to enact that forward press for me. But as long as I keep my head, my center point at that golf ball, I'm okay. I don't have to manipulate my hands as much. It's when we start to manufacture that forward press at impact, now he's got a lot of upper body, sliding left to make up for that. And does he do it in time? He doesn't quite get there. So you can see there's now the center of his chest, which is behind the ball now. And he has to enact more tilt to move those hands out in front so he doesn't chunk it way down here. But in order to do that, now he has to, also raise and lower his spine so he doesn't hit the ground. So there's just a lot of this going on. And I know you said that you have issues with your body. So without me knowing, how much it affects your rotation, it's really hard. I'm just giving you, an idea. So less forward press, get your center over the golf ball more. If you want to go up and down, that's okay, but try not to go, up and down and over and then this way too. Just trust the turn, man. You don't need much weight distribution to use it correctly. It's just a little bit. Just trust that the turn itself takes care of weight distribution. You don't have to actively move over. You don't need that. And you'll be surprised. It's about centeredness of contact. It's not about clubhead speed. You take a slower clubhead speed, you hit it in the center correctly, you'll hit it further than faster clubhead speed that's, off that centeredness half an inch. It's a huge difference. It changes everything. So give that a try, Gerald. I hope that helps you. Let's take a look up here. My impact position looks like my setup position. How to fix that? Man, are you sure you're not having some 99-cent kombucha over there. It's Doc. You know the answer I'm going to ask you or tell you. Gotta send me a video, man. I've been waiting like over 2 years. You get your spot. You're going to get a spotlight on your spot. You need a swing. So you got to send me a video. I want to help you out. 21-year-old Lottie Wood is leading the Scottish Open by 2 strokes over 3 rounds. His first tournament as a professional. Good for him. I hope he can pull it off. Justin Rose, didn't he win or got the low amateur in the U.S. Open? Or excuse me, the Open, like in 95 or 96, and that just catapulted. I remember he holed out for eagle on the 18th hole, and he put his hat down, and he's like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then he fell off the face of the earth and came back stronger. All right, let's see who's next. Gerald, hope that helps you. Let me know if you need any other help. All right, what time is it? Perfect. All right, see you later, Gerald. Did I just lose my... I think I lost my... Oh, no, it's right here. Okay, Jim. Jim is next. Let's pull Jim out. Okay. All right, here's Jim. What's going on? There's one. Only got one swing. 3-2-8. Let me try that again. Because he sent me 2 videos, but I only have one of the same one. I think you sent me the same one, Jim. 3-2-7. Yeah, Jim. I think you sent me just one. All right, so this is the only one we got from Jim. Jim, sorry about that. I know you sent me 2, but it looks like it's the same video. So we're getting the same swing. So we only got down the line for Jim, but we'll play his swing and take a look at what he says here. All right. I'm the inventor of Swing Away, the pill for golfers, and I've left you comments before. Swing Away, the pill for golfers. Never heard of it. Swing Away. Started playing it at age 50. Took lessons from a guy that told me I was too fat and old. I've tried everything to stop my overswing. I have no mobility issues, and I'm 70 years old. In this video, I'm using my 5 hybrid. My average with the club is 130. Good shot is 150, both straight. My misses are start straight, then fade, or hook left. Both are real short. Sequencing required to get back to my ball with huge overswing makes me use my 3-wood off the tee. Okay. Reason I can shoot in the mid 80s is I play from the senior tees and have a great short game. All right. So short game is key. And unfortunately, Jim sent us the one that is also glitching. So Jim, you're 2 for 2. I'm sorry. You got double swings and a glitch. That's a good swing though, Jim, man. I was expecting something else from that. I'll tell you what. That's pretty good, Jim. I wish we had your face on because we'll have to see where that ball position is and how you're using it correctly. I'll tell you what. Let's start with the setup. And the camera angle could be a little bit off too, but let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jim, you make this work. And you try your best to stay in your posture. It's really good in terms of staying in your posture. Tilting's doing pretty good. Yeah, there's obviously there's things you can sit here and nitpick. Specifically this move here. But again, you're 70. Doesn't say much about. He says, I have no mobility issues. So we can maybe try and test the water here a little bit. Grip looks okay. Looks a little strong. Yeah, it's just that disconnection at the top, Jim, that kind of Okay. So number one, I mean, your setup, you can see your setup is a toe base setup. Let's see. Yeah, it's right here, Jim. I mean, from here to here, you can see you come out of your posture quite significantly. We're almost standing up to help you get the turn, but it's almost like it's too much turn. How much is too much turn? Because once you get too much turn, you stood out of your posture. One thing that typically happens is your arms just keep going for the ride because they don't have anything to hold them back. And the fact that we can see your club falling out over here, you've engaged this, fourth lever that you now have to time. I know that you can get some yardages back by doing that, but when you start to turn so much to come out of your posture, it worries me that there's not a lot of holding your body accountable to its posture. And all of a sudden you have to rebuild your posture from the top of your swing. But then why you need to rebuild your posture while you're trying to sequence correctly and uncoil correctly. So I just don't see that there's much coiling going on in terms of where the pressure is storing up in your body. If I could challenge you do a really good job. I mean, look at this. Look how you just come on. Look at that midway follow through. I mean, right here, bam, that's a really good looking position there. I mean, you got the tilting going on. You can see your hands have caught up to the center of your chest. You're in that spine angle again. You got your back brace line. I mean, this is a great post-impact position. It's just how we get there. You probably feel like you're like slapping at the ball instead of compressing the ball and using a little bit more energy. That's what I feel like it can look like on your end, or at least if I can jump into your body. I would challenge you, Jim, if you want to do this, and you don't have to. I mean, this is something I would just challenge you, is get the feet back just a little bit, and you might have to stand a little bit closer to the golf ball to accommodate this, so the arches of the heels are supporting your hips. So then you don't have to worry about any moving back and forth. But in the midway point, you want to try and look at this midway point, and yeah, we're going to lose a little bit of this tilting. So there's your spine angle. Actually, no, let's get it so it sets up. Okay, it's pretty close. Now we take a look at your left shoulder is coming fairly quickly up at that spine angle, and that's probably what's losing a lot of this torque in your body. So try and keep that left shoulder slightly down a little bit more to get those hands to stay on that lower plane line a little better, and you'll probably feel some tightness on this left side. You're looking for that tightness. You don't want to get away from that tightness. All that's doing is it's storing up your body and getting your body in a position to stretch the muscles out. And once you stretch them out, now you can contract them further. So you're not just kind of slapping at the ball by moving. You want to have something behind it that's pulling you down to that golf ball. And part of that is the tension that your body needs to feel at the top. And if you do get that tension, what that's going to do is going to stop your rotation, because with no tension, you can just keep turning. And then you have too much turn. Your club goes way back, and now you have to time this. So you want to feel the tension on the left side, left shoulder slightly more down to hold you accountable to that tension. And you might get your hands maybe to here, maybe one frame back. That's fine. But you don't need to keep going like this. Like this here just shows me that there's no real tension involved. And then we have nothing to carry down into it other than stuff that we're creating while we're getting back into our posture. So give that a try. I know that it might be a little bit strange to try like that, and I'm sorry we don't have your face on. I know you sent me 2 videos. I just gave me 2 of these, and the face on would help with the ball position to see your tilting relationship. So at least it will make sense to this down the line. But from the downline view, that's all I can see based on this. But let me know if you need more help. Scott, Lottie is a young one. Well, you never know in today's age, Stephen, who we're talking about. Jumped on late, but saw the Sonasis. Appreciate the feedback and setup. You got it, Chris. Hope that helps you. Didn't hit the door. Not sure why I caught off early. Good. A little worried about you there. Looked like, man, maybe that's why I cut off. It heard the snap. Okay, Jim. Hope that helps you. Let's see. I think we got. Sure you want to delete this recording? Yes, I do. All right. Last of the night, and we're right on time. Perfect. That's good. I've gotten through like 12 of these in the last 2 or 3 days. We have about 15 more. So I think one more catch-up stream, and then we can get back into our usual once a week type of thing. All right, let's get Edward up. 1 down here, 2 down there, and right here. Okay, Edward. Close this one. Oh, we're on double. All right, let's play these. Let's zoom in. All right. I registered, I think it was 32 in your test. Not very good. I know I've had a lot of knee problems lately and always seem to be coming over the top and compressing the ball, but I've started trying to get my trail shoulder down and towards the ball more, if they make sense, in the last 2 rounds. I've been seen a bit of improvements in ball striking, 85 and 80, okay, from the back tees, good. Both rounds without losing the ball a lot. All right. Okay, let's take a look. So we know he's working on shoulders. All right, I can see a little bit of it already on the down the line. Okay, so I know he said he's working on his shoulder. Trail shoulder. Down and towards the ball more. So I'm not sure if he means trail shoulder to stay in his posture, or meaning this way here, like trail shoulder down to stay in his posture, or trail shoulder down to get more tilt. So we'll have to kind of figure that one out. Okay, we do see the increase of tilt on both of these. A little bit of scooping, a little bit of standing up. Let's take a look. All right. Yeah, it's right there. Same sort of thing. You know, this extra little bit from here to there. And that changes a lot. Especially since we got to cross a line as we now turn, the club gets back to where it is, or should have been at the top. But momentum now is going to carry it steeper. And then, you know, we probably used to stand up a little bit. We could see our upper body standing up to try and bring that club back down to a fighting chance to get in that level playing line. So he makes this work. And this, again, is one of those ones where it's like a lot of little things make up the swing, but they need to be there to hit the golf ball. And if you change one of these little things, the whole thing's going to fall apart. Right there to there. So you see this? I mean, that's where, in my opinion, you know, just stop the swing there. You don't need all this extra. I mean, that club is, you know, there versus there. And look at how much we're adding with that little bit. I can't get my mouse to work. It's a lot of degrees we're adding with a little bit, but our body doesn't necessarily turn more. So our bodies turn completely, but we're lifting it up to try and maybe take advantage of another lever with the arms. Now, when you invite another lever, now you're also inviting another lever to score out in a downswing. And as we come on down through, we see that lead arm is going to eventually want to straighten out, not as much as it can, but even that straightening out, that ever so slight straighten back out, it could lend to more steepness, because as you're straightening out, it's working back in front of you, and now you're going to be a little bit steeper. And we see it from this position here. We see that steepness right there. So I think it's just a combination of overusing the hands again, but a lot of this is momentum too. So if you look at how fast that swing is, you know, if you have somebody with a fast tempo, especially in transitions, we see the top, and then it's hard to control that club head, because as you take that club back, it starts to pick up weight. And it takes a lot of discipline to have a slower backswing to control that club head, specifically for the length of the swing. So there is basically where, in my opinion, it should be. And if you stop it on the right side of the screen, look where that club is. That club is, it's sitting pretty good. But once it gets there, now it's like danger. And now we've got, a lot of things to play to get that club down. So I think, Edward, it might not make much logical sense to you, but if you eliminate that huge angle at the top and just store it a little closer to you, you can potentially hit it further because the club head is not going to be moving around as much, and your consistency of your distance will increase. In terms of dispersions, now I know we talk about lefts and rights a lot, but there's also shorts and longs. And in my opinion, I'd rather have an iron where I'm consistent on the distance and have a dispersion right or left, as opposed to consistent on the direction but have a dispersion short long. I'd rather be the first option, because at least if there's a body of water I've got to carry or a bunker and my 5-iron goes 190 and I know it goes between 185 and 195, okay, that's a pretty good dispersion for distance. But I'm left or right, I can still play that within reason. But if I hit them 20, 30 yards short and long because of this timing game, that's hard. I don't care how straight you are. You can be dead straight as a laser to your pin, but don't carry the bunker, don't carry the pond. It doesn't matter how straight you are. So irons, it's all about dispersions short and long first. Don't look at your dispersions as much this way. Unless, obviously, you're in Havoc Camp's pool or Jabroni's barbecue, then obviously that's a different story. But simplicity. I mean, we're here, we're workers, we have families, we're not playing tour level golf. This is a good swing. I think you just need to cut off the edges and just work with what you have. It'll be a lot easier for timing. Your setup looks pretty decent. I mean, I don't see a lot of four press going on there. I don't see a lot of motion this way and this way, maybe a little bit up and down just because you have to create some room to throw your hands earlier. But you should see all that kind of dissipate once you start to simplify your swing a little bit, and just by cutting off the edges. Cutting the edges, right? Trim the fat. So hope that helps you. But that's good. We got a quick 6 out the way. Did I miss anybody here? We got Happy Gilmore 2 opened Netflix last night. Numerous cameo appearances by golfers and famous people, including Jack Nicklaus. Very funny. I saw Eminem on there too. So yeah, I haven't checked that out. I don't have a Netflix account, so I'd have to just wait for bootleg.org. Shh, I never said that. All right. I will see you guys taking tomorrow off. Hopefully it helps everybody. If you need me to look at your swing, job form link is below, or just go to any new upload. You'll see the job form link on that. Appreciate your support. I will see you guys probably Monday or Tuesday with a video. Fairways and greens.